This large, solitary fish will defend its territory when threatened, with aggressive body language and a rumbling sound it makes with its swim bladder. Its large, thick, elongated body can grow to over 8 feet long, and up to 800 pounds, from rounded snout and small eyes, to short, fan-like tail fin. Usually it is a mottled yellow-brown to grey with darker barred and spots, ideal for blending into their rocky coral and muddy inshore habitat. Although most groupers start out as females and become males later in life, there is still some debate as to Goliath groupers being protogynous hermaphrodite. Of historical importance to commercial fisheries, the Goliath grouper has also long been prized by recreational and sport fishers. Traditionally, the species has been caught primarily by hook and line, traps, and trawls. Spearfishers find this fish easy to approach, hence in locations accessible to divers their numbers have declined. Very large Goliath grouper have been observed to stalk divers and even conduct unsuccessful ambushes of the same. Large individuals of this species should be treated with caution. The large size, slow growth, low reproductive rate, and spawning behavior have made the Goliath grouper especially susceptible to overfishing. The Goliath grouper is totally protected from harvest and is recognized as a critically endangered species by the World Conservation Union, IUCN. Furthermore, the IUCN concludes that the species has been observed, estimated, inferred or suspected of a reduction of at least 80% over the last 10 years or 3 generations. The Goliath grouper occurs in the western Atlantic Ocean from Florida south to Brazil, including the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. It is also found in the eastern Atlantic Ocean, from Senegal to Congo, although rare in the Canary Islands. The species is also present in the eastern Pacific Ocean from the Gulf of California to Peru. Occurring in shallow, inshore waters to depths of 150 feet, 46 meters, the Goliath grouper prefers areas of rock, coral, and mud bottoms. Strikingly patterned juveniles inhabit mangroves and brackish estuaries, especially near oyster bars. The Goliath grouper is notable as one of the few groupers found in brackish waters. This fish is solitary by nature, with the adults occupying limited home ranges. It is territorial near areas of refuge such as caves, wrecks, and ledges, displaying an open mouth and quivering body to intruders. Additional warning may be delivered in the form of the Goliath grouper's ability to produce a distinctly audible rumbling sound generated by the muscular contraction of the swim bladder. This sound travels great distances underwater and is also used to locate other Goliath grouper. Goliath grouper are the largest members of the sea bass family in the Atlantic Ocean. The body is robust and elongate, its widest point is more than half its total length. The head is broad with small eyes. The dorsal fins are continuous with the rays of the soft dorsal longer than the spines of the first dorsal fin. The membranes between the dorsal fin elements are notched. Pectoral fins are rounded and noticeably larger than the pelvic fins. Bases of the soft dorsal and anal fins are covered with scales and thick skin. The caudal fin is rounded. This fish is generally brownish yellow, grey, or olive with small dark spots on head, body, and fins. Large adults are somber colored. 3 or 4 irregular faint vertical bars are present at the sides of individuals less than 3 feet, 1 m, in length. The rear half of the caudal peduncle of these small individuals is covered by another similar bar. The tawny-colored juveniles, although not as colorful as some grouper species, are attractively patterned, exhibiting a series of dark, irregular, vertical bands and blotches. The Goliath grouper is the largest grouper in the western Atlantic. Growing to lengths of 8.2 feet, 2.5 meters, this grouper can weigh as much as 800 pounds, 363 kilograms. In Florida, the largest hook and line captured specimen weighed 680 pounds, 309 kilograms. The oldest verifiable Goliath grouper on record is 37 years. However, this specimen was sampled from a population of individuals depressed by fishing pressure, and it is projected that Goliath grouper may live much longer, perhaps as much as 50 years. Males achieve sexual maturity at 4 to 6 years of age and lengths of 43 to 45 inches, 110 to 115 centimeters, females at 6 to 7 years of age and grouper are one of my favorite types of fish. They are generally very good to eat and are sporty to catch. They generally live in reefs and, when hooked, will make a powerful run to their favorite hole and break you off on the rocks if they can. They don't have a lot of stamina, but that initial surge can permanently embed the butt of the rod deep in your gut if you aren't paying attention. For this reason, even relatively small grouper often require fairly heavy tackle because of the amount of drag necessary to keep them from their reef. Grouper have large mouths relative to their body size and can engulf large baits. They often come up and eat other reef fish that have been hooked as they are being reeled in. If you are using scaled down tackle for the smaller reef fish, you are going to need a lot of luck to avoid making a tackle donation to the local reef foundation. There are many species of grouper found all around the world, and you could easily write a whole book about them. I will just stick to some general tips based on the types of grouper fishing I have done. One of the best things about grouper is the many colors and variations there are. I have tried to include a good sample of pics of different ones below. You could spend your whole fishing life chasing all the different kinds of grouper around the world, and it would not be a life wasted. Tackle is going to vary depending the size of grouper targeted. In general, you are going to need heavier tackle than you would normally need for equivalent sized fish. If you are targeting grouper larger than 50 pounds or so and there are a lot of rocks in the area, there is almost no tackle that is too heavy. Braided line is a big advantage because of its no stretch qualities. A reel with a quality drag that has a lot of stopping power is a must. If you are fishing in a shallow reef area, you may not be able to give the fish any line at all. If you are fishing with monofilament line, even if you don't give any line, the line stretch may be enough to allow the grouper to get into the rocks. For the biggest grouper, I would go with an accurate 2-speed reel with a heavy-duty, short Coolstar rod with all roller guides. Plenty of other quality reels will work though. If you were thinking about purchasing any fishing tackle and found any useful information on this site, please consider purchasing through the links below. I have added links for some good grouper tackle for both large and small fish for a variety of budget ranges. Grouper can be caught on lures, live bait, and dead bait. My favorite way to catch them if they are shallow is casting jerkbaits in shallow reef areas, but a large live bait sent down to the bottom and then lifted a crank or two is probably the most effective way to catch them day in and day out. Many people have success trolling deep diving plugs so that they go just above the reef where the fish are. If you are fishing a shallower reef, it can be great fun to cast jerkbaits like a Yo-Zuri crystal minnow and retrieving them erratically with frequent pauses. Many times the fish bite on the paws. In deeper water they can be caught on metal jigs. You just bounce them off the bottom and occasionally take some cranks and then drop them back down. My biggest lure caught grouper was caught on a Salas 7X jig. Diamond jigs, although they don't look fancy, work in a lot of places. They often hit bucktail jigs, either tipped with bait or plain. The best bait for most grouper is a live fish of some sort. Whatever large baitfish are prevalent in the area should work. If it is legal where you are fishing, you can just hook a smaller reef fish of whatever sort is biting, put a big hook in it, and drop it back down. Grouper also like crustaceans such as shrimp, and many will eat squid. They are not all that picky, as their large mouths would suggest. There are many species of grouper and many places to pursue them. The Bahamas have many species of grouper. Panama has some good grouper fishing, and South Florida does as well, although there are many more restrictions. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia has a host of colorful grouper species, including the beautiful coral trout. Grouper fishing regulations change constantly. It is up to the angler to stay up to date on the current rules in the areas that they are fishing. The same applies to release tools and venting tools. Check to make sure you are in compliance. There are quite a few members of the grouper family. The most commonly caught grouper species in the United States are gag grouper, red grouper, Goliath grouper, black grouper, and scamp grouper. While they vary slightly in habits by species, they will be covered separately later. For all intents, they can be covered together. Grouper are a structure-oriented species that are usually found on the bottom. Wrecks, reefs, natural ledges, navigation markers, bridges, and areas of hard bottom are top locations. Grouper hide in these structures and then ambush unsuspecting prey. Grouper are opportunistic feeders and will eat just about anything, including bait fish, crustaceans, and squid. In a complete oversimplification, grouper fishing is not complicated. Anglers fish live or cut baits on the bottom near structure. That is really all there is to it. However, as in all fishing, there are nuances and specific techniques that will improve the success rate. While grouper can be caught in the inshore waters, the vast majority are landed by anglers grouper fishing in the open Atlantic Ocean and Gulf of Mexico. In cooler water they will be found closer to shore, often within a few miles from the beach. In warm weather, and very cold weather, grouper will move out deeper. Grouper fishing tackle needs to be stout. This is definitely not finesse fishing. Grouper are almost always hooked near some type of structure. The grouper will dive into holes and other areas, cutting the angler off. Therefore, the fish must be turned very early in the battle. This cannot be accomplished with light tackle in most circumstances. Anglers can use both spinning and conventional tackle when grouper fishing, as long as it is stout enough to turn an angry grouper. The majority of anglers opt for conventional tackle and heavy rods, particularly when fishing deeper water. A Penn 4/0 Senator reel with matching rod and 50 pounds to 80 pounds braided line is a standard combo. Penn Battle 6000, 8000 spinning outfits work well for anglers fishing water less than 100 feet deep. Grouper fishing is really basic bottom fishing. Therefore, a few simple rigs will get the job done. A sliding sinker rig, also known as a Carolina rig, is used by many anglers. The leader length can be a few feet long or 20 feet long, depending on the depth and water clarity. Generally speaking, the shallower the water, the shorter the leader. The sliding sinker allows the grouper to pick up the bait without feeling any resistance. A dropper rig or chicken rig can be used when grouper fishing as well. It is a good choice when drifting and works best with pieces of cut bait. It is also a great option when snapper species and other desirable bottom fish are a good possibility. The basic rule of thumb is to use the lightest sinker and smallest hook that will get the job done. Conditions will dictate the weight needed. Water depth and current speed along with wind speed when drifting are the primary factors. 2 ounces up to 8 ounces are commonly required. Sliding egg sinkers are most often used. There are many different choices when it comes to hooks for grouper fishing. Most anglers now use circle hooks. In some areas, such as the Gulf of Mexico, they are required. Circle hooks greatly increase the survival rate of released fish. 10/0 is a good all-round size. Grouper are opportunistic feeders, they pretty much will eat anything. Just about any legal fish can be used live or cut up. Anglers often stop on the way out to load up on squirrelfish, grunts, sardines, ballyhoo, threadfin herring, blue runners, or other small fish. A large live shrimp is a terrific bait for groupers and snappers. Pinfish are available on the inshore flats and at bait shops and are a productive grouper fishing bait. So, with everything else ready, it is time to go fishing. Grouper are bottom species. Anglers closely guard their favorite grouper fishing spots. While public numbers will produce, the best spots are ones that anglers find on their own. These are much less pressured and can remain productive for decades. One excellent way to locate ledges and other bottom structure is to troll. I personally have found some of my best grouper fishing spots while trolling for king mackerel. It is easy enough to save good-looking marks and then fish them at a later date. Once a spot is chosen, it is time to position the boat. You notice that I did not say anchor. While many larger boats do anchor, GPS trolling motors have revolutionized grouper fishing, negating the need to anchor. Anglers who do anchor take the wind and tide into account and try to put the boat in the ideal spot. In most cases, the best approach is to place the boat a bit uptide of the structure that is going to be fished. That way when the baits are lowered, they will float back to the structure and fish. The same applies to chum, there is no sense in having it flow behind the structure. The deeper the water, the farther up current the boat should be placed. One trick I learned is to start the bite off with smaller pieces of cut bait such as Spanish sardines and squid. This will get the smaller snappers and other bottom fish fired up, attracting the attention of grouper. If the smaller fish suddenly quit, get ready. This usually means the big boys are cruising. The same applies if one of the lighter rigs gets trashed by a big fish. This is a good sign that the grouper are active. I like to start with larger pieces of cut bait before using any live bait. Anglers can often catch a few on cut bait and then switch to live bait if the bite slows. However, it usually does not work when doing it the other way around. Another tip that I have learned is that is cold water. Grouper can be reluctant to chase around a live bait. A nice oily sardine slowly thawing on the bottom will often entice a grouper